So I have a question for you. You ever had that feeling down deep in your gut when you're looking to buy something, especially if it is something expensive, that something just wasn't right? I know I have. Well, today's guest knows that feeling all too well. You know why? Because he has spent the last more than 4 decades exposing RV dealers who play dirty. I'm talking about my friend Ron Burdge, an RV lemon lawyer who's been taking the fight right to the factory doors and to the dealer lots longer than most of us have been camping. Now, this is not a legal talk, not today. It's more of I think, a reality check. We're going to go behind the curtain into some of the sneakiest, shadiest sales tactics that bad dealers use to separate you from your money. The problem is that most of the time, folks don't even realize it until it hits them, and then it's way too late. So while you're watching today's video, if you've ever felt pressured, played, or I don't know, flat out lied to, drop a comment below. And if you got a story that you think others should hear, shoot me a message or give me a call. I'd love to talk with you and maybe even feature your story, your experience in a future video here. No pressure, no script, just the two of us talking. And if you're dealing with something serious with your problem RV, the Burdge Wells Law Office, well, it should be your first action step. They'll even give you an evaluation of your RV nightmare for free. I'm going to drop their info down in the description and put it up on the screen here a few times while we chat today. Let's get into it. This next one, Mr. Burdge, you call the showstopper. I think I know. I think I know what the showstopper is, and I think that a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, yeah, it's kind of happened to me." But do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Oh, yeah, it happens, and it happens fairly often, frankly. We've had several cases where this was the scenario that was played out. You go to these RV shows, and these RV shows are incredible. They're really just a ball. They're very entertaining, and they're designed to get you around and see a whole lot of RVs so that you'll get interested in a particular one. Well, these also have a whole lot of dealers there with all of their RVs too. Okay, well, if you get interested in one, a lot of people will get interested in one and they'll think, well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about buying one of these. And the dealer will talk about it, but a lot of people realize that, 3 or 4 thousand people go in and out of this particular one they're looking at. So they don't want that one. They want a real brand new one. And so the dealer would say, well, we got one back at the dealership. So I tell you what, I'm busy this week, but the show will be over Friday. I can show you that one, and we can probably have it delivered to you by the end of the week. But I can't get back there until this is over with, and I got time. But I'll tell you what, it can get you a heck of a deal over there. Same deal as if you buy this one that everybody's been through. And of course, that sounds like a good deal.
Right.
Then you go to the dealership, and the show's over, and sure enough, the salesman's back there at the dealership, and he calls you and says, "Hey, I got time now, and I got that one we were talking about. That's just like the one you saw down there, but it's brand new and everything."
Yeah.
And then you come down, you look at it, looks super. Sign, buy, drive home, whatever. And then you may find out later, one way or another, that actually that's the one that was sitting down at the show. The one, the 3,000 people with all their families and the kids went tromping in and out and opened and closed everything and turned all the switches on and off, and that fancy
Ron, hang on.
electronic control.
That is exactly. I talked with somebody, just did an interview recently that somebody went to an RV show and they found the perfect unit. But while they were watching it, looking at it, this other couple was in, and the woman was jumping in the shower just to see,
There you go.
and oh yeah, we got one just like this. And they ended up buying. They thought they were buying a new one. No, they were buying one that had been at the show, gently used, I think.
Yeah,
so
probably with that same couple in there jumping up and down in the shower. Okay.
And you're right. The shows are a lot of fun, but they're also minefields, so to speak.
Yeah.
In tactics that unscrupulous dealers can use. Another one, I'm just going to share this, that some dealers will say, yes, you can buy that RV, whatever it happens to be, and make you a deal that's so good, you cannot say no to it. And they take you off the market. And so now you're walking on the rest of the show, and they'll say, somebody will say, well, can I show you? No, we just bought one. We just bought one.
And there's a word for that.
What's that?
There's a dealer word for doing that to people too.
What is it?
It's, that's how often it happens. They have their own buzzword to describe doing that to somebody. It's called dehorsing.
Dehorsing.
Yes. Now, that's not new. Okay. That goes back to the days when they sold horses. The idea was you get them off that horse, you sell them another one, you dehorse them. Okay. Same thing with a motor vehicle. You get them in there, you promise them the moon and everything else, would deliver this, sign right here, drive home and everything else, take your trade in off your hands and all that. It's called dehorsing because it takes them out of the market. Then, if something goes wrong with the deal, too darn bad. Your trade in, oh, we sold that yesterday.
Oh my.
And now you want to cancel the deal? I'm sorry, I can't cancel the deal. The bank only wants another $50, $80 a month in your payments, or the paperwork went bad, the computer screwed it up, got to do a new one, or the bank didn't approve your loan. Now, of course, that doesn't happen. They sometimes call that a comeback, also, or a yo-yo. That's another term for it. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially, they let you get the RV thinking that you got a done deal. You signed the paperwork, the loan, everything. You drive off, they shook your hand, gave you the keys, congratulated you and everything. And then a few days later, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, sometimes as much as 10, but most of the time, 3 to 5 days later, after you've had time to show your neighbors and your family, your mother-in-law and everybody else, this beautiful RV and everything that you bought, then they call you up and say, oh, the bank didn't approve the loan. I gotta have a new one. They want another $1,000
Oh my
down.
God. Oh
And
my.
and now, what are you going to do? How are you going to explain to your mother-in-law that your credit wasn't all that good after all? You don't want to do that.
So
They
this
know
is
they got you and they know it.
and this is illegal. Yes.
Oh yeah. In
So
fact,
what's
there's a
somebody to
federal law
do?
that basically gets violated when they pull that on people most of the time.
Do you think that most people they learn only after they have become a victim, right? I mean, they don't,
Yep.
most people don't see it ahead of time. They just learn too late. And I
Yeah.
think of the people that happens to, most of them are like you said, they're kind of embarrassed.
Yeah.
They just acquiesce. They just go along with it and they don't want to say anything about it. But what you're
Yeah.
suggesting is if that happens, speak up, contact a good lawyer.
Absolutely. In those kinds of circumstances, one of two things is happening. Either they're being bullied into it and intimidated and feel like they have to go along to it, or they're embarrassed to the dickens and they realize that, God, the only way I can get out of this thing is I got to do what they say. I got to come up with another $1,000 or $2,000 down, or I got to redo the loan paperwork because the bank didn't prove it. Now the loan went up. And the only way they'll give me the loan is if I get some extended warranty to cover it too, which I wasn't going to do. And now I got another $50 a month of that I got to cover.
Oh
All
my.
of it is just so much BS and illegal. But
Okay. So
people don't realize it.
if that happens to me and I end up buying this RV, even if it's not a lemon, I still might have some kind of a claim, a cause
Oh,
against
yeah.
that dealer, right?
Absolutely, you do. I'll tell you, if that ever happens to you, then the odds are they violated the law. Okay. If they sign the paperwork, you sign the paperwork, they give you the keys, and you drive off, it's a done deal. They cannot just simply call you up and say, gosh, we need to have you come back and sign a new set of paperwork. If they do that, they're violating the truth in lending law. That gives you the right to sue them over that. Okay. And they can't just cancel it. Now, a lot of them will have these spot delivery so called things there, paperwork that says that, well, this really isn't a final deal. Well,
Mm.
actually, that won't matter a whole lot in the legal end of the process either. Okay. The real thing of it is, if it happens to you and they tell you you need to come back, be suspicious. No, these things don't happen accidentally. Nobody at any dealership ever sends a customer home saying the bank approved your loan without it having happened. They do it to get you off the lot, dehorse you, and then stick it to you later with a comeback call.
Oh, that dehorsing. I mean, I totally get it. It dates back a long, long way.
Oh, yeah.
We may have already covered this. You may have already said it, but if you have any doubts, I think, and you're going to find an RV that you like at the RV show, but you don't want that one because it was a demo, like hundreds
Oh,
of
yeah.
people have been through it. take a picture of that VIN that you were talking about
Exactly.
and keep it on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let me show you, sir. Here's the other one. And you look at, I'm
Yeah,
just,
and that VIN number will generally appear in the driver's side lower edge of the windshield, or else on the door jamb, the driver's door jamb.
right.
It'll almost always be in one of those two spots.
Yeah.
So you ought to be able to find it. Now, I do know one guy who couldn't find it for whatever reason, and so he just went to where there was some place on the frame where there was something that was real clear to him that that's not going to go away. And it was a black mark of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter what it was. He just remembered it was there. And then when he went to go get the RV, all of a sudden it didn't have that. And he started looking real closely and realized, well, it's because it's the wrong RV. It's a different one now. You got to be careful. Ain't
Yeah.
nobody else watching out for you but you.
All right. The next one, you call it the old switcheroo. Let's talk about the switcheroo and what that is and how we can protect ourselves.
It's a real trick and a half. And most people don't realize a lot of what we're going to talk about on this one. What's
Okay.
being switched isn't you. What's being switched isn't the RV. What's being switched is the terms of the deal. Most people don't realize it, but when you go to buy an RV, there's actually 4 numbers that the dealer can play with to make themselves get the maximum profit. If you don't know what those numbers are, you won't see this coming. Okay. One of them is the price of the RV. Another one is the monthly payment. And another one is the interest rate. And then the fourth one is the length of the loan. They can adjust any of these numbers and it will affect the other numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
The down payment, for instance, if you increase the down payment, the amount being financed ought to go down, but
Right.
not necessarily. Not necessarily, because, for instance, if you ask, gee, I'm interested in buying this RV, and they ask you, okay, well, how much you want to pay on monthly payment? Something like 70% of everybody who buys an RV finances it and lets
Right.
the dealer do the financing.
Right.
Okay, he wants to get the buyer pinned to a payment number. Now, they always tell you that it's too low, but whatever number they give you, they now got you locked in. Well, the
Right.
reality is, any salesman worth his salt knows what the average down payment is going to be, and he knows what the monthly payment is going to be, and he can calculate it pretty quickly. Okay, so they know what the monthly payment ought to be for that RV. Well, they quote you a high number. Okay, now the switcheroo is where they talk about the payment is this, it's this level. And then what they don't tell you is these other 3 factors, they're going to play with them. Play with them in order to maximize their profit and keep your payment level the number.
So
they're switching what can happen to you elsewhere.
So they know that you're focusing on the payment. I want my payment to be $500 a month, and not everybody. And if you're a dealer out there watching, I'm not trying to say everybody does this, but the bad ones sure do it. They say $500 a month. They don't care if they're paying 10% or 11% or whatever. We can, okay, we're gonna. And I know that 20 years on an RV that isn't going to last for 15 is a long time. That's their problem. And they manipulate knowing that you're paying attention to the payment instead of all the other terms. Another way of putting it is you go to a magic show and these magicians have a beautiful girl that, that they're going to, and you're watching the beautiful girl while they're pulling the rabbit out of the hat or doing whatever the trick is. That's the same way with these bad RV dealers.
Yeah, and she ain't there by accident. And what the dealer's doing,
Exactly.
it ain't by accident.
Yeah, yeah. So that too is illegal, and I should contact a lawyer.
Yep.
I don't know about you, but every time I sit down with Ron Burdge, I walk away smarter and more cautious and a whole lot angrier, I guess, at the dealers who give the RV industry a bad name. But here's the deal. This stuff keeps happening. Why? Because not enough people are talking about it. So if you've been taken advantage of by a slick talking dealer, or you were almost taken advantage of, leave a comment. If you're brave enough to tell your story, you just might save somebody else from being blindsided. As a reminder, if you have a problem RV, the Burdge Wells Law Office, they have your back. They do. They don't dabble in RV law. They live it. Their contact info is down below as well as on the screen. And if you got your, wherever my smartphone is, your smartphone close by, if you'll shoot that QR code, it'll take you right to them. As they say, life is too short to be forced to live with a bad RV. Let me hear from you. In the meantime, I'll continue calling out the bad apples and working hard to connect you with America's most trusted RV dealers. Links to them or to their Vimeo channels are down below. Thank you for watching today. Y'all be safe, have fun, play nice, and don't leave your good manners at home.